Shari, welcome.
Hi.
Thanks for being on the podcast. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Yeah, I'm glad we could finally connect.
Me too. So tell us how you became the penis whisperer or the boner babe, or you have a lot of the accidental cougar. Like, let's get into your story.
The accidental cougar is more about my personal life. Well, I've been listening to men since I was in my early 20s. When I was in nursing school to become an RN, I was simultaneously working as an exotic dancer, but it was actually in Canada, so they would call it a peeler or a member of the Canadian Ballet.
Ooh.
Oh, I'm not sure what peeler means.
Peeler, like a
Peeler, you're peeling your
off?
clothes off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I kind of like that one too.
It's cute.
It is cute.
Yeah.
So you were a stripper and a nurse.
An exotic dancer.
I mean, a peeler, exotic dancer, ballet member, and you're in nursing school and you're talking to a lot of men.
Yeah, they were a captive audience.
In nursing also, or just in the...
Well, I mean, unfortunately in nursing, you don't have a lot of time to talk to your patients, which is why I eventually left nursing. I found stripping, peeling, dancing to be much more emotionally rewarding.
Cool.
Yeah.
So tell us how that evolved into, or the steps that it evolved into doing what you do today.
I think it really just started out with people would be, I think, surprised to hear that guys will pay you to listen equally as amount that they would to pay you to dance. So I think that's something that I was like, wow, this is cool. And so just listening helped me take in a lot of information and give my, whatever feedback, guidance if that was wanted. And then that evolved into the world of erotic massage.
Okay.
Years later, and like tantra massage, erotic massage, whatever you want to call it, where I like to say, indoctrinated into the underground arts by a sorority of erotic women or something. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so you're taking kind of like the group atmosphere of a male dynamic, and then now you're focusing on one man at a time. So there's kind of more emotional intimacy, more listening, and you're seeing what's working and what's not right in front of you.
Yeah, I'm sure it's pretty apparent. And is that for you and for your partner, or mostly you're just the pleaser?
That's an interesting word. Whatever I do, I've always done it for myself. So
you were getting pleasure as well as giving pleasure.
Yeah, and even as a stripper, I would dance to draw people into my world.
Oh, such a cute little pussy.
It's a cat.
Oh, cat.
Not everybody watches the video.
Oh, come on.
I guess we don't have to edit all that out because it just fits perfectly.
It fits perfectly into the conversation.
Yeah, and even it's funny. Even though someone would from the outside perceive me as being like in the man-pleasing arts, I've never had that perception. It's always, how can I elevate men? How can I help heal them? So that was always I think it's whatever your intention is, right? And that was always my intention of being an uplifter in every way possible.
Uplifting the penis and the spirit. And I listened.
Yes.
Thank you for sending me all of the link to listen to some of your testimonials. I mean, these men that you're working with are ecstatic about the work that you do and what you've done for them. And I can't wait for you to tell everybody about it.
There are a lot, and it's very diverse too. I mean,
your case studies are super diverse as far as what's going on. Okay, but I don't want to cut your story short. So then you got into tantric massage.
Yeah. And that's when I saw everything up close and personal and had more intimate conversations. Yep.
About what was working and maybe what wasn't working.
Mm-hmm.
And
Since you are having this edited, do you think I should just remove her because it's starting to become a little bit much, or do you want to keep going?
If you want to remove her, that's fine, and we can just tell Justin to cut this part out where we're talking
Okay,
about the
I'm
cat.
gonna. Yeah, it's starting to get a little too intense for me.
Yeah, yeah, move her.
Okay.
It's all good.
That's too much. Come on, Edie. We gotta go upstairs. Come on.
Did you say your cat's name is Edie?
That is so awesome. I hope it is.
Hi, Justin. So how's your day?
I hope you're doing good, buddy.
Still waiting. We're looking at a picture of a towel.
I think it's a blanket.
Is a blanket?
Yeah, it's a pretty blanket or a scarf.
It's,
Okay.
I just gotta. So we had a interrupting cat. That's no longer the case. But I heard you say something when you walked out. Is your cat's name Edie? Edie?
Oh no, it's a Gigi. Her name is Dara, but her like cute name is Gigi.
Okay. All right.
We're like, I thought she said Edie too. That's hilarious.
You're like, wow, she's really committed to
She's
this.
really into this.
My other cat's name is Lingam.
Nice. Lingam and Edie.
For those of you who don't know, lingam is like a reference to the male member of the penis, right?
Yeah.
It's technically
Maybe it's a
not what it
little
means.
bit
It means
larger.
like pleasure steeple or something, doesn't it? Am I getting that wrong?
Wand of light.
Wand of light, that's it.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I was way off.
I was too. Wand of light makes it sound so majestic.
It is.
It
It
is.
is.
Yeah.
Oh,
I hear angelic voices.
sometimes I do too.
All right. So tell us about
So going from tantric massage now to what you do, and I know your nursing background plays a big part in this.
Yeah. So as a registered nurse, I did post open heart and diabetic nursing. So anything, obviously those things are big time circulatory issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the
And
nursing.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the nursing obviously plays a factor. You know, that's why I consider myself a holistic sex coach, because I'm always looking at the medical and how the body works. And it's not just about the superficial issue.
Right. And I was going to say I did a TEDx talk and was doing a lot of research about how sex improves your health. And one of the things that came up were all these studies about how they're actually thinking about asking men about ED to diagnose heart problems and circulatory issues, because it's usually like the first indicator that there's something's not quite right. So
build up a plaque. Is what
not just build up a plaque, just any kind of circulatory issue. It just causes issues. So, and I love that you talk, we'll get into that. So very cool that you happened to be in that circulatory nursing. Did you?
Yes.
I mean, it's kind of a cool coincidence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it a coincidence, or were you like, oh,
Total coincidence.
That's cool.
So tell us more.
I mean, as a little girl, I didn't think, oh, I really want to help guys with erectile dysfunction. You know, it's it's
That
something.
wasn't your big dream.
No, it's something that evolves. So the next evolution is when I have my big Kundalini awakening while all this is going on, and I like to say, like, I got the kind of like the download of sexual healer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when people would just show up out of the woodwork, like, I need your help. I'm like, okay, I don't exactly know what's going on here. And I was able to help them. And that's how all this started. So I was seeing men, women, and couples, and I really saw that men had the greatest need.
Yeah.
Can we go back to the Kundalini awakening? Did I say that right?
Kundalini.
Kundalini.
Yeah.
Tell me what that is. Can you tell us what that is and what you experienced, and how did you? Any kind of awakening has got to be. I mean, I'm waiting for mine. I'm not waiting. I'm on the path.
It's a Love and Rockets song, the Kundalini Express.
It is?
By old school, yeah.
I didn't know that. So it happened with my teacher. We were making eye contact and doing some breath work, and the energy at the base of my spine got active. He wasn't touching me, and it got activated, and then I felt it shoot to my heart, and I felt my heart literally open and expand. And when that happened, I lost my sense of self. Like I lost it's like I didn't have a body. And the next step is like you shoot out the top of your head. And I was in a place, this is going to sound really weird. I was in a place where there's like DNA strands floating by, and it's really kind of interesting
Wow.
dimension, I guess you could call it. And I mean, that was cool, but the most memorable part of it for me is being laughed. There was laughter coming out of me that wasn't mine. It was like the universe was oh, I'm getting the chills. It was like
Me too.
it was like the universe was laughing through me. And I remember hearing that sound going, whoa, that's not me. Like, wow. So, at the same time, it felt like I was being made love to by God. That's kind of the nicest way I can say this.
Wow.
What kind of a teacher were you with? Was this your tantric teacher?
I've always just called him the guru in the garage. I've known him for over 20 years, and he's enlightened, and he doesn't advertise. He doesn't have business cards. He doesn't have a website. He's not on social media. And
He's just a guy that you happen to know and study under.
yeah, he's my guru in the garage.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I
He lives
want
in
one.
your garage?
I wish he lived in my garage is not nice enough for him. He's in a really nice garage now
Oh,
in
cool.
Santa Monica. Yeah.
Hmm. Wow.
So you had your Kundalini awakening,
Mm-hmm.
and what's next?
Well, it takes 4 years for your nervous system to rewire to be able to handle the higher frequency. So that's when all the psychic gifts come in. And then everyone that has an awakening gets a gift. Like a guy I know was running a surf shop, and then he became a master artist.
Mhm.
Another person I know, well, actually my teacher. So my teacher became a healer when he had his. And so you get a gift. And my gift was to do with sexual energy, sexuality, sexual healing.
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
That's cool.
And then you said people just kind of started showing up and you started healing them and helping them. And
Yeah. I mean, literally just started. I didn't even know what to charge. I didn't know what I was doing. And it all just worked out. And I was like, whoa, this is amazing.
so you've been doing this for how many years now?
This part of it, 15.
And is this this is like your whole gig now? You're all about just ED and helping men through that journey.
Yes. Yeah. And I only went public with this 3 years ago. I was doing it, for a long time before that, but it was through doctor referrals, and it was a process of experimentation. So going back to what we were saying about the case studies that you watched,
Mm-hmm.
of how diverse, right? The issues are, age ranges, the health problems.
Yeah.
So I had to come up, the process of experimentation, I had to come up with something that worked for everyone.
Mhm.
Everyone that you watched went through the same exact program.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Well, and they talk about your intuition. Like one guy's like, how did you know? Like you called me right at the right time when I was feeling down, and you'd call and you'd be like, yeah, my intuition's magic. I was like, oh, I
Well,
want intuition like that.
yeah, well, everyone has it. Definitely, it's a process of trust. When someone's working with me, they're in a 3-month container. So I think any coaches would know that you're holding space for the person. So you're connected to them. You're thinking about them. It's not like, see you Tuesday at 1. Okay, we're done. Bye. Right? It's like, I might even look at their photo and like, okay, am I missing anything? It's not just a one and done with me. It's like you're literally being held in a container, and that's where the magic happens.
So tell us about this process that you have developed over these 15 years that is now kind of generally working with so many different cases, so many, like you said, age ranges, health issues, and not just ED. I mean, you're hearing these guys of all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, delayed ejaculation, premature ejaculation, performance anxiety, and ED, all the performance issues.
But then also, like, one guy was done with his IBS and he wasn't lactose intolerant anymore and he didn't need to take beta blockers, and like, and they're having better communication with their partners and they're having beautiful relationships, and they account all of this success to your coaching. That's fucking amazing. So tell us about your
Yeah.
process.
Okay. Well, so on the physical level, my job is to eliminate the causes. So what I've done is I've taken the mystery out of ED. It's really not that hard. No pun intended. So you have to relax the nervous system. Everyone's too wound up, right? So you have to get in the present moment. You have to become aware of your breath. You have to relax the nervous system at all times. So that's going to open up the blood vessels, let the blood flow. And then the other part is to increase the circulatory system, right? We want the blood pumping. The blood has to go from the heart all the way down there. And we got to make sure the plumbing is flowing correctly. And the other part is I look at things a little differently than most people. I look at emotionally based blocks. I really believe that the mental aspect comes from the emotional aspect initially, that the memory being held in the body, that charge. So one thing I do help them with that can't necessarily do on their own is I use energy work from afar just to clear that in real time.
I think we underestimate how much our emotions play in our health. I think it's just now that Western medicine is starting to be like, oh, you have emotional issues too. Maybe that has something to do with the fact that you have cancer, or you have ED, or you have whatever kinds of issues you're experiencing.
Well, think of ED as a heart blockage. So, one of my slogans is an open heart equals a hard penis.
Oh.
So what I'm talking about, if it's open emotionally, it is typically open physically as well in terms of blood flow. And I know in the Western world, they think of, the brain as the biggest sexual organ in the body. I think of the heart as being the sexual organ because the heart to me is the ultimate organ of arousal.
So
and it's very romantic.
I've got a quick question on that because,
Yeah.
I mean, just from a scientific standpoint, the first thing that popped into my head is, somebody might be listening and think, oh, well, if it's about blood flow and everything, and my doctor recommended I take blood thinners or something, which increases blood flow. So is there any, I know this is just a total question coming from complete naivete on the matter, but does like taking blood thinners help in any way, or is it, I mean, I understand we're talking about emotions right now, and I'm definitely leaning towards that as a much better approach, but what about the guy that thinks blood thinners are the answer? What do you say to him?
So the first thing I do when I work with someone is we clean up everything on the physical level first before we even go to the energetic level or the emotional level, since, emotions are energy in motion. So we have to look at the physical, practical aspect of the body. So rather than taking blood thinners, why not do exercise and dietary improvements, which I go over in the program.
Okay.
And don't you have them do blood work and stuff too, like when you're working with them one-on-one? I don't know.
Definitely.
You were saying something about labs and.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's why I'm holistic, because I can't diagnose anyone. I'm just a little old RN. But I can give I can give a second look to things, or some. What's kind of neat about this is a lot of guys won't go to their doctor, but they'll come to me, and I'm like, okay, well, let's get you some blood work, and then I'll find things, and then of course I send them back to their doctor. My motto for my work is stay in my lane, right? So I have to be safe.
Yeah.
I like to work
first.
Safety first. I like to work collaboratively, and I don't want to get sued.
Yeah.
And I don't
good.
hurt anybody.
Getting sued sucks.
Yeah. I never have been. Yeah, my goal in life is to never be in a courtroom, and I think that's a pretty good goal to have.
It's a really good goal.
Yeah. Well, you can be sued and not be in a courtroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
So,
But not getting sued is a really good.
and you can be in a courtroom and not be sued, or even be like you get called for jury duty or something.
Yeah. So did that answer your question?
Yeah, no, it totally did. I mean, I'm really big on the whole holistic side of things, and
We can talk about you.
I've done my own kind of experiments in that. I just turned 53 in January, but a few years ago I started experiencing my own issues along those matters. I mean, I've always been kind of highly
Sexually charged.
never really had any issues there, but I noticed a couple of years ago that there was a couple of times where she's like, "Hey, you want to go upstairs?" And I would make an excuse. I'm like, "Hey, what was that all about?" Usually I've never did that. And then there were a couple of times where, the performance was lagging. And so I
Boner quality was.
I call it boner quality. The boner quality wasn't top notch. And so I didn't ever want to take pills. And what I did was I researched all the different herbs that are supposed to help with it, right? And because I know reduced testosterone is one of the factors, and so I was like, what herbs can
I
help?
don't buy into that, by the way, but there is a school of thought of that for sure.
Yeah, so
I love that you just said that.
That was the school of thought that I was reading about. And I didn't want to take testosterone either, because I thought I don't think they really understand the long-term effects of that. So I didn't want any part of that either.
Or the ones that they do, they're not necessarily great.
If there's herbs that they've been using in Eastern medicine for thousands of years that are supposed to increase libido, and potentially there's not really proven that they increase free testosterone or not. But so I ordered a bunch of them, and rather than just take one or two, I just took them all. And
that's a great scientific process you have going on there.
Yeah, and the safety first thing, that wasn't, I guess you didn't think about that either.
And you find them passed out in the bathroom, totally red, and you wonder why.
Yeah.
What'd you take? You open the cabinet, 60 bottles fall out. He just points to it, looking up at it. Okay.
No, I got the powdered form.
He made his own capsules.
I didn't order.
I think it's so funny that you say to her, I didn't want to take pills, but guess what you do? You take pills.
Because the powders
they're
taste
capsules,
like shit. It's nasty. It's super bitter. It's
What do
gross.
you
I
think the
tried
tablet's
teas. I
made
tried
out of?
everything. Well, I don't have to taste the bitter
This
powder.
is how men fool themselves right here, people.
And it's it's a vegetable-based gel capsule. It's not.
It's herbs and gel capsules.
Yeah, that's all.
Vegetable based.
Anyway, it
But
worked.
it's not a pill.
It's not a pill.
For me, that worked, but it's not an approach that's very duplicatable. And then it only lasted for it only lasted for maybe 18 months, and then I started taking them again because I noticed a little bit of a drop off. But I've also noticed that a lot of it is more stress related too for me.
Nervous system.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
but we've also been kind of intrigued by the whole, the tantric method and everything. Also, we've barely stuck our toe in the water with it, but it's something that we want to explore more as well. So I'd love to hear more about your process. She told me to tell you my story, so I did.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so first of all, since you did bring up your age, so guys will typically notice a little bit of a change between the ages of, let's say, 38 to 42, some kind of a shift, like, And then around 50, like if I went through my file and I showed you the ages, like, whoa, this is pretty predictable.
Yeah.
So 38 to 42, and then kind of 50 to 55, and then like probably 65 to 72. So there's, and nowadays too, guys are getting it so much younger, like under 30, they're
Right.
getting it well. So you're right on schedule, basically.
Doesn't it? I've
Sweet.
heard it referred to as andropause, which is like a male version of menopause, but it happens a lot slower over a lot longer time, and their hormones are changing and shifting.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. Since we did, so obviously your audience is opening to hear about Kundalini and energy and all these things.
Yeah.
So I like to look at the body's operating systems and how they change through our evolution, also known as aging. Well, what happens is the Kundalini energy, it naturally does a little rise up the spine as we evolve. It's like a superpower you have to be responsible for. So you don't really get it all at once. But there's a natural rise in that, because evolutionary speaking, we don't want a 60-year-old man stuck in his sexual center, because nature doesn't want his sperm. It wants the 20-year-old version of the sperm, right? So there needs to be a natural evolution. So around the age of 50 is when that energy should be reaching your heart. Now, if there's any blockages, any issues with the heart or the ability to connect. So when I work with someone over 50, a primary focus has to be, how do we light up your heart? Does it mean taking a little more time off of work to connect with your grandchildren, right? It can be really practical steps. Is there a way we can take you deeper with your relationship, like having more connection with your female partner? Are you in a position where you want to give back and like you love what you do and you want to mentor someone else? So it's not always about lighting up the penis at certain ages. It's about lighting up the heart.
That's so cool.
That's pretty cool.
How do you feel about your heart, babe?
It's beating.
That's a good start.
Well, yeah. So this is an age when the energy does reach the heart. If there's any, I just call it junk in the trunk, which is not that respectful. But anyways, if there's some junk in the trunk in the heart, this is the time where it'll start to come out. Now, let me contrast that to the women's perspective on this.
Mm-hmm.
So our Kundalini energy naturally runs a little higher. We are naturally more heart-centered. So when you get there, when you get around 50 and your energy is coming up to the throat, you're going to start to be more outspoken. You got a lot to look forward to, Pat. And things that you've suppressed during the relationship, suddenly it's like, remember 13 years ago when? so that you're going to start to vocalize. So the throat is a male chakra. The heart is a female chakra. And this is what creates the chemical changes, the endocrine, the hormonal changes in our body. That's why you're going to get a little more testosterone, and then Pat's going to get a little more estrogen.
Okay.
So this is the energetic component of why I love to work on the energetic level of everything.
I'm massive, huge believer in energy.
Yeah, we're big fans of the energy medicine and energy healing. I used to have panic attacks, and tapping saved my, tapping was just the first step, but that, I don't know what's when you tap on different spots, that was like my introduction.
I think it's just called
energy.
tapping.
Yeah, just tapping.
Technically, energy is God. That's
right.
Yeah, exactly. That's our little God sparks.
And there's certain level, it's so tricky because there's a certain level of density, right? So like we're in this third dimensional reality. Mm-hmm. So there's a certain level of density, but then obviously in quantum physics, if you break all that density apart, there's like nothing.
We're mostly space and energy.
Yeah, we're like little vibrations.
Exactly. That's
So kind of going back to my program, what we were talking about is really starting weeks 8 through 11 of the program. We work on for the first week 8 and week 9, we work on opening the sexual circuitry, where by then we've saved our sexual energy. And then we have a lot to work with, because that's like the gas of the fuel of the tank of the body, and that's stored in the kidneys. And then we run that through the sexual circuits for those 2 weeks and start to clear out any emotions. And this is kind of more like a little bit more Chinese energy medicine based. Then the next 2 weeks, we do a technique that I came up with called heart to penis resuscitation, where we do breath work going like heart to penis, heart to penis, heart to penis, heart to penis. And one little story I like to tell is it's really love that awakens the heart. And when the heart's awakened, the penis is awakened, right? So if there's like the hero at the end of the movie and he gets like shot and you think he's dead and he's laying down on the ground, and he's not revived by a blowjob, right? He's revived by a kiss. He's revived, not that he wouldn't mind, but and he's revived by a kiss. He's revived by love. And so such a huge part of my program is accessing the heart on every possible level and creating arousal there.
That's awesome.
So can't do that. And then it makes him a better partner and more connected to his woman.
Oh, so you work on the physical level. You deal with nutrition, and just to kind of summarize what I think I heard, nutrition and exercise, and then you work on breathing and calming the nervous system. And then you get into more of the
and some 5th century work as well, because I think of men as Father Sky and women are Mother Earth.
Mm.
So to help guys get into their bodies, we do like, I think 5 to 6 weeks of sensory work, of activating.
What's that like?
Well, there's sight, sound. I mean, it's the 5 senses. So the cool thing about the 5 senses is, regardless of what religion someone is, we typically can all agree that there's a force that's animating the body. Well, how that force interacts with this third dimension is through the 5 senses. Those are doorways of interaction. So when I work with a man on the 5 senses, there's like homework every week. They really love it, and it really helps them get into their body. And when you're in your body, you're also more present, you're less in your head. And when you really start to master the 5 senses, it adds depth and texture to your sex life.
Yeah, that's true for like when I took my mindfulness, because it kind of sounds like mindfulness meditation too, where you can kind of switch from the different senses. And when I took that into our sex life, that definitely made it.
When I said
more
that, I saw Pat
sensual.
have a thought.
Oh, I did. No, I
Yeah.
was, so almost everything that you do now is in your evolution that you were telling us about in your story. You got into the tantric massage side of everything, and then but now most of what you do is virtual, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all this. It's exactly what we're doing right now.
You don't touch any of your patients.
No.
Would you call them patients?
Clients.
Clients.
Students. I mean, they're doing the work. I'm the guide. So
Okay.
they're empowered to fix them themselves. I'm like, hey, I kind of know how to do this. And they do all the work themselves, and I just guide them through the process. And it is an emotional process. It's pretty much every guy has a strong emotional response at some point to the process.
Okay. So what about, like, you're into, and you say it's 12 weeks you work with them?
Mm-hmm.
So in the 12th week, I mean, do you ever go over any kind of, I mean, it's one thing to, let's see what's the right way to word this articulately anyway. So you've got your boner back, but that doesn't always mean that, I don't know, I guess it makes sense, because if I'm just trying to think, if you're more present, that's depending on how your relationship's working. And because a lot of times erectile dysfunction, in my experience, and some of the things I've learned about, is it's almost like a vicious circle. So you're not performing the way that you thought you would, and then all of a sudden you start building stress around the entire performance itself, when before the stress was probably related to something else. And then, you know what I mean? And then that just keeps happening and happening and happening. So if you get rid of all that, and you can come back to the moment and be more present in the moment. I mean, do you work with guys about being focused more as the giver, or do you ever get into any kind of technique or anything like that with them at any point?
That would be customized information. So everyone is so different. So if someone gets the one-on-one coaching, then I have more time to go into all that.
Okay.
It just depends on what level we're working on. But yeah, some guys ask all that stuff.
All right. Do you work with groups of people then?
I do now.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm finishing my digital course tomorrow. Tomorrow. So now I'm going to have like my own app and the course, and then I'm going to be having the group coaching twice a week. So they can get on for accountability and questions, and I have even a private group that goes with the app. So yeah, this way I can make it more affordable. And so this might be something interesting to learn, is guys always ask about other guys. Well, what other kind of clients are you working with? Or what do they do for a living? Or like, well, what's going on with them? And are they single? Are they in a relationship? So it seems like guys do ask a lot of questions about other guys. And I use other guys' stories to create competition.
Right.
When I see someone because guys are competitive, and I'm like, gosh, someone else started at the exact same time with you, the exact same problem, and they're like just way ahead of you on this. I mean, are you sure you're really dedicated? Oh yeah. And so a group model isn't necessarily a bad thing, especially because someone has the option to show their face or not. But guys can learn from other guys for sure, too, and just listening and being heard. through from other men is healing, and then having it be a little bit of a competition isn't a bad thing.
Okay.
Have you done the groups yet, or like it's going to start tomorrow?
I started a beta run in January.
You did?
So yeah.
And because it's funny when what we experience, we work with we do calls with couples and some coaching and stuff. We mostly work with just couples, but it's interesting how sometimes there really isn't a lot of sharing, but sometimes if we get the men by themselves and the women by themselves, like separate them, we see a lot more opening. But I'm just curious if the men do open up to each other, since this is I can't think of a more sensitive topic to try to discuss with men. They seem so tender about it.
It seems like older guys and younger guys are more open, and guys middle age or maybe a little bit less. It's, I don't know why that is.
Wow, that's interesting.
I think that there's shame around it. So that's the first thing you talked about getting rid of is, we might not even been recording yet, but is the not having any shame around any of it, any part of what we're talking about. But if you've been like a guy views himself as, the hunter, the slayer, the bring home the bacon guy, the man that pleases his woman, or maybe if he's paying attention. But you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden you're starting to have issues, and it's happening around the same time that they're reaching their sexual peak.
Yeah. Well, so look at it this way. So you obviously took the time and watched a bunch of the video interviews with clients that I've worked with.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So do you think those guys would be sharing on a video shamelessly from in week one, right? So it's a process they had to go through of healing, where they're now like, yeah, I'm comfortable talking about this. And some less so, some are just audio.
Yeah.
Right. Some did video and like, yeah, let's talk about this. So there's different levels. All the levels are fine.
I think it's just a lot of guys think it's a sign of weakness or something, you know what I mean? To admit that, they can't, or maybe have decreased sexual performance.
It's simply an imbalance.
Yeah.
That's all it is. The thing I don't like about Western medicine is they isolate a body part and say you have erectile, like your dick is broken.
Yeah.
and it's not. I'm able to help guys heal this through video conference without touching them.
Yeah.
If their dick was broken, I would not be able to do that.
No. Plus,
is there anybody that you haven't been able to help?
No. No. So when I first think about working with someone, I'm going, okay, do I think this person is going to be mild, moderate, challenging, or is this going to be a miracle? So a couple of the ones you saw, and those were miracles. Those were like, Viagra stopped working, injections stopped working. I'm not even attracted to my wife anymore, which they didn't say publicly on there, but I know that. And it got resuscitated. It revived.
That's
So
incredible.
What's the oldest person you've worked with?
72.
Okay.
So someone 72 isn't necessarily going to say I have ED. They're going to say I don't feel alive.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because they don't expect. I feel like men don't expect for their penises to get hard, as they get older. And hopefully it does, but I feel like a lot of men just sort of give up, like, oh, I'm 70 now, so I
think that's a Western medicine belief program that's just not true.
I love that you're saying that.
What about men that have like prostate issues? That whether
prostate's more challenging.
Yeah. Have you had to work with anybody in that realm where they've been told that medically, because your prostate's enlarged, or because you've had prostate cancer, or because you've had prostate issues, you can't, you're just not gonna be able to get boners anymore?
It's tricky if there's been nerve damage. It's tricky if the whole prostate has been removed.
Right.
I can't say that I've gotten anyone rock hard that has had that. I've gotten them with a few extra little tricks, no pills, able to penetrate their woman.
Okay.
So that's all you can, sometimes that's enough.
Right. That's cool. All right. Good to know.
It's tricky
That's
though.
I have
pretty amazing.
I have one more question, and so you're working with these men and you're performing, you know, miracles to some degree for some of these guys. They're not all
Phrasing,
married.
yeah.
They're not all married. Some are like, you know, on the rocks with their significant other, and it may or may not be related to this. It may be related to something else. But have you ever had any trouble with like Florence Nightingale syndrome? You know, where like, I mean, you're basically helping them release a lot of shit, discover their sexual energy. I mean, have you ever had anybody like fall in love with you in the process?
It's such, if I was a woman and I was going to hear me answer this question, I'd be concerned. So let me try to think about how I want to answer this. I'm a firm believer that love heals. So
Okay.
for the 3-month framework, am I going to be loving towards the person I'm working with, even if it means being mean sometimes to get them on track, which is still coming from love? Yes. When I'm working with someone's heart and the energy of their heart, well, can they have like a feeling or an openness or like I just think of the word as a fondness towards me? Like a fondness? Yes. It's only in the 3-month container. And it's, to me, that's what is really facilitating the healing.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, listening to that answer, I think it's a fantastic answer, and I hope no woman would have a problem with that, because at the end, it's, I mean, the reward seems like a pretty big payoff.
Huge
It makes
payoff.
their relationships better and more connected. I mean, women do nothing but benefit. I mean, I almost wish I could like reform bad husbands, you know, like send me your bad husband. I'm going to straighten him out and give him back.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Maybe in a way that is what you're doing.
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, it is. And it's a challenge. I mean, this is challenging work. It's very dynamic. So when I'm working with someone's energy of their heart and that opens, it's not like unicorns and rainbows come out, you know, it's like sadness and shame. If they've had trouble with a kind of a female primary caregiver in their life, guess who's in front of them right now? Right? Guess who's the authority right now? So guess what's coming at me? The one interview that I know you looked at for the getting off beta blockers, he had a lot of stuff come up around female dynamic and like was really coming after me. And because he even mentioned in the interview, like she's got a thick skin.
He
And-
did say that. I liked, that he said that.
But it's my job to hold space, not to react, right? And
Sure.
I've had to achieve my own self-mastery to not react to this. So it's like just giving the space for all that to come up and go, okay, great, like anger, rage, whatever's coming at me. And I'm like, okay, so let's look at where this dynamic occurred in your upbringing. And they're like, oh my God. And so it's not easy. It's almost like, give me your husband so he can work his stuff out with me and then I'll give him back. You know, This is what I do.
So I lied before when I said I only have one more question.
I'm like, I have 100 questions, but I know we're running out of time. So we'll try to.
We'll have to do it again.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I have, so if you've got people from all across the spectrum, I had somebody tell me this recently when I was talking about presence and slowing down and all this stuff. And he's like, yeah, that's easy for you because you've kind of already attained a level of success. And you've, I'm in a mastermind group with a bunch of like hard driven entrepreneurs. And he's like, you've already done that. And so you can take a step back. But a lot of the young guys are still trying to, you know, achieve and do all this and blah, blah, blah. And so being in that, you know, we're in the over 50 club, what would you like, what would you go back and give yourself advice that would shorten your own learning curve if you're still in your 30s?
As a female, you mean like my own?
No, just, yeah, like, so I'm not asking the question probably properly, but like when I put myself in the shoes of the person that's 30 and then try to give them advice from that spot, you know, because
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay, well let's just go back to the conversation we had of my whole operating system teachings, right? So when you're in your 20s, you're wired for that.
Right.
Right? When you're in your 30s, let's just say you're more in the they're in the way. But I was going to go solar plexus. I forget sometimes. I forget that I'm short too. I see myself in photos with normal height people, and I'm like, wow, I'm really short.
I have that exact same thing where I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm really tall. You're short. And they're like, then it turns out they're taller than I am.
I have that with the boobs too. I always forget the
Oops.
size. And I'm like, oh shit, my solar plexus is under there. So when you're in your 30s, you're pretty much solar plex, right? So it's like your focus continues to narrow. So you can still get away with some stress, but you better start cleaning that up towards the end of your 30s. Like you got to realize you've arrived at some level. So some of this stuff is okay.
When do you think is the perfect age? So, I mean, I'm also a classic example of, I've learned so many things when I was young that didn't sink in until I hit my later 40s.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I learned this when I was 20. Oh yeah, I remember that from, and so what do you think would be the perfect age to start listening and paying attention because if I could go back and do some of the things I was advised and, at those ages, it would have shortened my learning curve so much. So when's a good time to actually start paying attention and trying to implement some of this stuff?
So like preventing erectile dysfunction?
Yeah.
20s. I mean, well, I mean, 20s, you can still get away with like drinking like a fish, Okay, let's just go 30s then. Because 30s, you're generally getting more focused. Like 20s, you should be out partying and abusing your body because you can still get away with it. But okay, so let's just agree on 30. Okay. Like you got to get a little more serious when you're 30. So I think that's when you can start to clean things up.
All right.
But have fun, right? Like you can't drink as much now and get away with it and stay out all night. Like when you're in your liver's like, I don't think so. So I would say 30. Why not? Okay. What do you think about that?
No,
I think it makes sense. What's the youngest person you've ever worked with?
He was on there as well. I think he was 24 at the time.
Or something, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we were going to ask you that. So you wonder about the ED and the porn relationship. And I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, there was
massive.
Yeah, talk to us about how that works.
Porn-induced erectile dysfunction. I mean, that's another reason kind of why I'm offering kind of more of a moderate price program with the same impact, so I can start to work with younger guys because it is a huge thing. Well,
did they just get oversensitized or
overstimulated?
Yeah.
I think of like human beings, like you can put programs in them.
Mm-hmm.
Us, right? I'm one too. I forget sometimes. And so it's like with porn, you're putting this overstimulated program in you. Can a normal, even a cute, hot 23-year-old, can she, necessarily physically compete with this level of stimulation? No.
Yeah.
No, it can't. Not to mention, I feel like porn makes guys lazy. Like this is the age when everything is functioning well. You should be out hunting. It's okay to have one night stands. Like this is the time. Mm-hmm. So get out from behind the computer because it does damage. I mean, if I'm working with someone and they're like, oh, I've been watching porn for 20 years. It's like, it's going to take a couple months of being off it just to remotely normalize. And my program actually used to be 10 weeks and I made it 12 weeks on purpose because so many guys are getting off porn that their body needs time to adjust. And then I can have time to like fine tune for a month.
That's crazy.
Well, so for me, I mean, porn is just not real. We tell anybody that'll listen that it's the worst possible place you can learn anything.
Yeah, don't learn about sex through porn. I mean, I just think it's so, like he said, unrealistic.
But if that's what gets you off and then you get into a normal relationship, you're just never going to.
It'll be challenging.
Is that
true? You're 100% correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I still like to watch it occasionally.
Yeah, but we got three or 4 minutes from time to time, and that's about all we
Yeah,
can
I
take.
can take about 3 minutes to just get me going.
You know
and then I'm
what?
done.
Listen to it. Don't watch it and listen
Oh
to
yeah,
it.
listening to it is good. Actually, I like
Yeah.
that better usually.
Yeah, women are more auditorially driven, but it does also help men as well. I feel like listening to it stimulates your imagination. I'm a big believer in audio erotica.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
It's such an imagination stimulator, and some of the women that do it are so good at it.
Okay.
Where what kind
Like I
you-
listen to it to kind of for my clients, like so I can suggest certain ones, and I'll get, even though it's for a man who's talking to a man, like I'll kind of start to get turned on. I'm like, whoa, this is good.
what,
I'm not
can
even
you-
a man and it's good.
Can you tell us some of that?
In terms
Can
of
you
what?
Yeah, can you recommend any of it?
I like erotica, erotica. I'd have to send you the link. I forgot how to spell it, but I'm pretty sure, because I usually just send the link.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Send us the link. We'll put that in the notes because I'd be interested in checking it out.
Sure. Do you have any?
I still have so many questions, but I think we want to give you your 2 minutes to tell us all where to find you, all the programs you have going on. Tell them about your new podcast. Like, just this is your
This is your moment.
shameless self-promotion.
Okay.
Give them all the deets.
Okay, yes. So I just signed a contract with a company and I'm going to have my own podcast. It's called Keep It Up with Shari James.
Woo!
And it's not necessarily about ED because I cannot talk about ED constantly. It's really about the upliftment and elevation of men through a woman who's very aware of men's culture, where it's at, and how the level of consciousness can be raised.
Okay.
And it'll have to be like fun too. So there's that, and then also definitely go right to my website, which I'm sure you're going to have the link floating around somewhere, which is Shari SHARI James.com, and get on the newsletter, because if you kind of hook up with me on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, I could be kicked off those things at any moment.
Okay.
Like, it's so I just got kicked off like even Vimeo. Like there's like I've been pretty much kicked off everything at some point. So the most reliable way to get the best information from me is just simply my newsletter, which is the mailbox, MALE box. And the programs, I have the 3-month ED program, which can be done one-on-one or more in a group setting, but you get the lessons no matter what. So even if you never showed up to a group, you would still get the whole program. And I also have the Take Control training, which is about lasting longer and having different types of orgasms, which maybe we can talk about next time.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, that's a fun one. Guys are like, what? I can have more than one? I'm like, yeah. Yes, you can. So
how do you get kicked off of Vimeo? How do you get kicked off of stuff? I mean, you're just giving people
inappropriate content, they say.
What's inappropriate?
You're not allowed to say, like, I'm surprised we're still allowed to be on Facebook and stuff, because we post all kinds of crazy, and Instagram too. Like, we're also at risk. Somebody just reports you as inappropriate conduct, or you
get a bot. Basically, I get put in the same category as prostitution, felony drugs, and firearms.
Such horseshit.
I get kicked off merchants. I get kicked off everything. And I'm saying it with a smile, but when it happens, it's not pretty.
Yeah, not happy.
It affects me deeply.
Well, it's bullshit.
To the core.
This is exactly what's wrong with our society.
Yeah, sex in our society is so messed up. We're doing it, thank you for coming on our podcast, because we feel like if we can just make change, keep bringing amazing people on that are doing amazing work in the world with regards to sexuality, we'll start changing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Needs to change.
And we're kicking
and let's redefine erectile dysfunction as an imbalance. That's it. Just an imbalance or a couple imbalances. That's it. You're not broken. You're
not broken.
In fact, let's just get rid of the word dysfunction and call it erectile imbalance.
Ooh. Yeah, I usually call it firmness troubles, but I'm stealing that right now. I'm going to write it down right now.
Use it.
Or just heart imbalance, even, because if that's where it all starts.
Shari, can you give us a general idea about the cost of your programs? Like, are you super expensive, or are you?
It's a range. Yeah. So it ranges. So what it does is it depends on how deep someone's in it. If they've neglected their health their whole life and they're like, can you help me? You're going to be at the higher end of things. So right now it's a range from 600 to 6,600.
Okay.
So there's a range. And if someone's mild, I'm like, ow, just don't do this and you'll be fine. It's just going to be 600. That's all. If I can solve your problem in that amount of time for that amount of money, first of all, I deserve it. And
Yes,
good for
you do.
you. We're catching this early. So
Well,
it depends on where they're at.
It's a screaming deal too,
It's a
because
screaming deal compared to all
is-
the pills and the
this is
doctor
something that
visits.
changes your life and your relationships. And people pay 10 grand for veneers on just the upper teeth.
Yeah. Well, another thing too is, okay, so one of my little slogans is any solution that only treats your penis is going to give you a temporary result.
Mhm.
Is something like gains wave or frequency treatments, is it good because it's not a pill? Yeah. But it's only temporary. You got to keep going back. And a lot of times what they don't tell you is you're going to end up on pills with the treatment or injections with the treatment. So why not spend way less than that
Yep.
and improve your health, which could possibly save your life, save your relationship? I mean, to me, I do think it is very fair.
I think it's a screaming deal.
Yep. And that's actually why not. I love that last thing you just said too. Why not improve your life and your health for less money?
I think
Yeah,
you should sign up, Patty.
All right.
You're not troubled in that area anymore with your herb treatments. But
That could
like,
open my
if
heart
she
more.
was offering this to women, I'd sign up.
I know.
I'm
All
sure
right.
someday I'm going to create something for women or couples.
Well, you'll have to let me know.
We'll be your beta couple. If
Yeah.
You want to. Yeah.
You
Okay.
can be your
And
test
we'll pay you too. So
test rat.
not asking for a freebie.
Okay. Good to know.
Shari, thank you so very much for coming on the podcast, and I can't wait till the next time we chat.
Yeah, definitely we will. That was fun.